Hello, everyone. Welcome to AOA Monthly Transit. What? I don't know what's wrong here now. I think it's like too early. Okay, to be very honest with everyone, this is a Good Friday in England, and we decided to record our session earlier so everyone can go to enjoy their party. So today with me is Mandi and Marcus.
Hello.
And
And
forgive us.
Misty.
Yeah, hello,
Oh,
Misty. We couldn't do it without you. So forgive us if we sound a little bit like that because this is early morning here. So there's a few things happen at this moment because I just come back from Portugal and the conference was lovely, lovely, lovely. I met astrologers from all around the world and they're so friendly, so nice. That really give me the hope of this kind of a spiritual community spirit things. We support each other, we help each other, such lovely things. So I really, really love this conference. And but when I just come back from conference, I just want to have a good rest because next month I'll go back to Taiwan. So Monday, I saw you recently getting busier.
Yeah, getting very busy seeing clients. As we
Yeah,
were talking before we came on air, I've gone back to social media, Instagram,
yeah, that's how
all
I
my
noticed.
sins, just for a bit of fun. Yeah, I'm still working on the writing project. I was going to get the first draft done by the end of March, but as I say, I've been busy with clients
Mhm.
and also been busy building a Reiki business as well. So yeah, lots going on. I'm
So
available for consultations though. If anyone wants to find me, I still have some slots.
yeah, so they can message you on the Instagram and the Facebook.
Yeah, they can
Okay.
find me on the APAI
Okay.
Professional Astrologers International
Yeah.
professional, yeah, the
Yeah.
Association of Professional Astrologers International. They can find my contact details on there as well.
Okay, cool, cool. Yeah, APAI is a really good resource to find a qualified astrologer internationally. Okay, don't really go to someone. Well, anyway, so
yeah.
Marcus, you're also very busy because you're going to teach for Kepler College.
Yes.
Congratulations.
Thanks, Rod. Thanks, guys. Yeah, no, so that course is starting, I think, on the 6th of May. And that's going to be a course on decumbiture, just on prognosis, which just
Oh.
means like using astrology to predict outcomes in medical situations, which sounds pretty niche, and it sort of is, but most astrologers have to sort of do that at some point or other, and like obviously everybody gets sick, so it's kind of useful. And by the way, my camera keeps freezing. Thank you, Microsoft, for your recent update. So please ignore the fact that it looks like I'm having a seizure every couple of minutes.
I really want to, you know what, when we're going back at least the recording, I'm going to cut that bit out to make a few Max gift, all that gift.
Oh dear. All right, noted. I'll look out for those then. Brilliant. Yeah, so
Sorry.
no, great. Yeah, no, so that's the only thing I've got coming up really. And I'm doing a talk next Saturday for the lodge, astrological
Oh
lodge,
yeah.
part of their traditional astrology day with Tanya Daniels and Sharon Knight, and then this guy I've not met before, Rumen something or
Yeah,
other. It
yeah,
looks really interesting though. It should be an interesting day.
yeah. Yeah, that would be very interesting one. It's on the 17th of April. I remember. It's 17th or 16th?
15th, I think, Rod.
15th, sorry.
Whatever next Saturday is, 15th of
Yeah,
April,
next
I think.
Saturday.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
so
is
it's
that an
like
online event as well? Can people join
yes.
online?
Thank you, Mandy. Yes, it is.
Yeah.
It's a full day online. It's Saturday. I think it's from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. But I believe you don't have to book the whole day. You could book the afternoon or just come drop in for one of the talks or whatever. So yeah, it should be interesting.
it would definitely book a whole event because all the astrologer I really love, enjoy, and all my good friend, and the Roman is like very famous in a particular area of the
Yes.
traditional astrology. So I really want to listen to it. Yeah, yeah,
Oh.
probably listen to record or something. But no, because
No, because it's
spend the whole day in front of Zoom.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay,
I
well,
agree, actually, not with watching it on Zoom. I agree that that the top, I don't know the fourth person that you mentioned either, Marcus, but I agree, but just to let guys know that these are the top-notch astrologers in this field, really, really are. So if you're interested in that type of astrology, then don't miss it, please.
yeah. Well, should we start with the recent full moon there? How do you feel about this full moon?
Personally pretty good, but then maybe I've got a skewed view of it. I mean, because it was, I felt that the full moon, it was conjunct Jupiter, or sorry, the sun was conjunct Jupiter.
Yes.
So I thought that was quite noticeable. I mean, for myself personally, I just had a really busy week, which has been great. So yeah, but in terms of the moon in general, I think because the sun was conjunct Jupiter, and you can't, like, neither end of that full moon was in a big hard aspect to anything. Obviously there's Mars in the sign that squares the sun and moon, but it's pretty wide. So it just seems like quite an active, busy full moon, but not in a negative way, really. That's I'd read it. What do you guys think?
Mandi?
Yeah, I agree. It didn't feel as intense as the last few moons, and perhaps that was the Jupiter. I don't know, but Marcus. It's interesting because obviously the full moons highlight the axis of the two signs that the sun and moon fall in. I think I'm right in thinking that the sun is quite happy in Aries. Is that right, Marcus?
Of course, you know, yeah, but absolutely.
Fire sign, of course.
Yeah.
So I mean, the full moon really highlights the Aries Libra axis. So it's that. I mean, all oppositions, and it's an opposition, isn't it? The full moon. All oppositions are about relationship. But in particular, I think Aries and Libra, it's about the relationship of yourself to yourself and your identity, as opposed to how it works with your relationship with other people and in relationship with other people. So whereas Aries likes to go its own way, Libra follows others or wants to sort of collaborate and negotiate, whereas Aries is more likely to go, no, this is what I'm going to do. And by the time Libra has started talking about it, Aries is already doing it or is already So I guess it highlights that kind of relationship between self and other, pleasing others and doing your own thing. And of course, there's always a balance to be found. Doing your own thing, just doing your own thing all the time is probably isolating. It isolates yourself, it isolates others. But people pleasing is obviously a huge problem for a lot of people, sort of not doing your own thing, not having your own will, not asserting your own will, and just following the crowd and doing what other people, because you don't want to upset somebody, or you don't want to say no because no is a hard word. So I think Aries and Libra have got things to learn about each other. So I think that full moon is just a little reminder, really, to sort of think about others, but also to not be a total people pleaser. I also think the Libra and Aries has something to say about the charm offensive as well, using the charm offensive, and perhaps on a full moon you can kind of see through that a bit more if people are kind of sort of using the charm offensive on you. So another thing, it was yesterday actually, the full moon, but the energies of the full moon are still in the moon has moved forward, but we've still got that nice that Sun Jupiter conjunction actually is closer today than it was yesterday. So that's a really good energy for just being optimistic, for getting things done, for just going for it, really.
Yeah, I like Mandi says, and this not only the full moon usually bring the theme on our relationship, but particularly this Aries opposite Aries Libra axis is usually also mentioned about the theme only between me and another person. It's not only just like a relationship; it could be cooperation, working together. It could be like a competition. So this theme really emphasize about between me and another person, how we're going to deal the things between us. Could be romantic relationship, it could be competition, could be simply just working together. I like another thing is emphasized about, because when we look at this full moon, both sun and moon aspect not only the kind of a conjunct with Jupiter, and also have like a quincunx and the semi-sextile with Uranus or Uranus. Some people like to say that way. I don't know which way. I keep changing it because it's not my language. So sometimes I'm happy I say Uranus, sometimes I'm happy I
Rod,
say Uranus.
if you say it the second way, you can't make all those jokes about Uranus, which is always fun. Do you know what I mean? So
I will tell you later. Yeah, that's why I try. That's why I intentionally try to say you.
most astrologers will say Uranus or
Yeah.
just to avoid that, by the way. So yeah.
Let me try it again. Uranus.
Oh. Yeah, there we go.
Uranus, even.
Yeah,
Uranus.
Yeah.
Okay.
It really depends where you put the stress in that word, but yeah.
It's a quirky planet and it's a quirky word.
Yeah,
you know.
indeed. Yes.
Yeah.
So they're both Jupiter and whatever Uranus have that meaning about the future, have that meaning about the future and the freedom. So this is maybe the major theme for this month. Either we looking for our future, we feel it, and or some people probably just try to ignore it, but they did a little bit of consequence come after, as it's like because it's Sun semi-sextile with Uranus, so that is kind of a somehow we couldn't see it, somehow we ignore it, and that would be a little bit dangerous and the price we might pay. Another thing is the Chiron, because if you use Chiron, the Sun is wow, super close to Chiron, and that is very tight. So I think could be, you know, in a personal way, is help us to start to heal our creativity, or use the creativity like painting, drawing, writing to heal our wounds, past wounds. But also this is kind of an embarrassment for some country leader or big leader, and we know a lot of things happen at this moment. So, you know, we can expecting something like a Donald Trump going to have something more embarrassed going to happen. Yeah.
Oh, that's interesting, Rod. Yeah, no, it is interesting that Sun Chiron conjunction. That probably deserves a little bit more said about it. But I had two traditional sort of observations to make that while you guys are talking, I noted. One was that it's sort of like you look at the rulers of planets to see sort of how those planets will turn out in traditional astrology. So like in this chart, the Sun is nice and strong in Aries, but it's ruled by that Mars in Cancer, which is in fall. And the Moon is weaker in Libra, but is ruled by a very strong Venus in Taurus. And but what's interesting is that Venus in Taurus is actually the overall ruler of this chart, using what's this is a modern technique called dispositorship. You just see what planet rules what planet. So let's say in this chart you start with Saturn in Pisces, the traditional ruler of Pisces was Jupiter. Jupiter's in Aries. Traditional ruler of Aries, or the modern ruler of Aries, is Mars in Cancer. Ruler of Cancer is the Moon in Libra, and the ruler of the Moon in Libra is Venus. If you do that with any planet in this chart, you'll end up with Venus in Taurus. So Venus in Taurus is the overall sort of like the head of the dispositor tree in the chart. So that's interesting because she's pretty close to that Uranus that we were just talking about. So it's sort of like that the overall way things will turn out in the second part of this month is pretty good but unpredictable. So something like that, and then the Mars rulership of the Sun could sort of, as you say, for leaders and for royal people and for eminent people, that's a second indication that this could be a rocky month for them because of that Mars in Cancer, that Mars struggles in Cancer ruling. But again, Mars in Cancer is in what's traditionally known as a generosity with Jupiter, because Jupiter is in Aries, Mars's sign, and Mars is in Cancer, which is Jupiter's exaltation. So there'll be a bit of hidden support for that Mars. So it's sort of like for leaders and stuff, because Mars rules them, that might be a month where they're experiencing lots of attacks or hidden conflict or struggles or things that are sort of defaming them in some way, and that's maybe a secondary testimony to what you're saying about the Sun conjunct Chiron, where they could be embarrassed or wounded in some way. That's one potential reading of it. Yeah.
Mandi, yeah,
especially on the full moon, when things become, and just in the period of the full moon, few days side is when things do become apparent. And it's interesting, as Rod mentioned, that sort of that motorcade to the courthouse with Donald Trump, you know, that was really interesting. And we were all shown everything, and he had a lot to say afterwards, of course, as well. I mean, Mercury, Jupiter, it's not really a conjunction. The conjunction has passed, but it was a conjunction a few days ago. And that Mercury, Venus with Uranus, Venus in Libra likes comfort.
Yeah.
Feel uncomfortable.
Venus in Taurus, you mean?
Sorry, Venus in Taurus. Yeah, Venus. Early. It's early. Forgive me.
we all have this moment to say, please cope with all of us.
We're all like, oh, it's early.
Coffee. Comfort. Yeah, I want to be comfortable with my coffee. So Venus in Taurus likes comfort, whereas Uranus likes to disrupt the comfort. You know, especially in Taurus, that's kind of pretty much what it's all about. But going back to what Rod was saying about Chiron, we mustn't forget that Chiron has recently been in a conjunction with Jupiter. And what's interesting about that, if you kind of follow or you're kind of sensitive to the sort of energies that are going around in the ether, the energies have been really strong, and the energies in the ether just recently, especially around and before and just after that Jupiter Chiron conjunction, it's been almost like a universal invitation for healing. You talked about the future, and I think, Marcus, you talked about letting go of the past. One of you talked about letting go of the past, but also looking towards the future. And I think that was very much an invitation to sort of let go of the past and do some healing. And I also think that Chiron is known as the wounded healer, and we take the assumption that you take your wounds and then you use them for the better good for yourself. But I think the invitation now goes a lot deeper than that. It's kind of like, well, the opportunity to heal on a much deeper level. I think in those energies are coming in, and for anyone that sort of works in the healing arts, I think that's kind of an energy that's coming in. And also, we're in Aries, we're in the Aries period as well, and things speed up. Aries is a lot faster, so I think there's kind of like, shortcut is a wrong word, but certainly there's those energies there. And the other thing I was thinking about Chiron as well, Chiron in Aries, I was thinking back to Chiron, obviously disposited by that Mars there. The other thing about Chiron is Chiron, the mythological Chiron, was also, he trained warriors. So that's another interesting thing. So Chiron is also perhaps something to do in Aries, especially learning to express yourself and assert yourself. Sun and with Jupiter, and doing that, thinking, well, actually, I'm not the perfect person. I'm not perfectly healed. I haven't healed all my trauma or my wounds, but I'm working on it. But I can still make a contribution. I'm still valuable. I can still assert myself, have my opinion, and I can still express that and help others. So that's just a few little things that I was thinking when I was looking at the chart. And Chiron. I think Chiron is more than just the idea of the wounded healer. I think that's the dominant symbolism of Chiron, but I think it's a lot more. It's also a maverick energy as well, which is interesting. He was the only centaur that had sentience. All the others were wild, like animal and bestiality, whereas Chiron went on the healing journey, really. I think all the healing journey of Chiron, a learning journey and a growth journey and a development journey, physical level, also on a soul level. So
that makes sense. I don't know if you guys have noticed, but I found Chiron's transit over my sun quite painful, but you learn useful lessons. It's different from, I mean, because you could say, oh, that's true of Saturn transits to your sun or Pluto transits to your sun, or whatever. Yes, but it's different with Chiron. I think transiting this personal sun in your own chart, you often feel like your vocation and your character are called into question in some way. It's like, am I doing the right thing? Am I a good enough person? Is this what I'm supposed to be doing with my life? Those kinds of questions. And you kind of have to go through a bit of a healing crisis with those things, because it often, Chiron will trigger your, it'll get your Achilles heel, not to mix Greek metaphors too much, but you know, it'll get you in the place where you're a bit vulnerable, and make you question yourself, and put you through a sort of it signals that sort of time when you might question your own competence and or where you're going, those sorts of things. So but with the consequence, hopefully, that through that questioning process you'll learn stuff. Because I always think the thing that strikes me about the myth of Chiron the centaur was that yes, he taught Hercules and he taught warriors and he was an amazing healer, but the whole thing about the wounded healer was that he was shot by this poisoned arrow, and then he couldn't actually cure himself of that. He was in permanent pain but still alive because he couldn't die, so he was immortal but in permanent pain. So I don't know where. Sorry about my camera, guys.
You have a Chiron moment now.
Yeah, exactly. I'll shut up because it's going to be painful to look at. So
yeah. Okay. Yeah. So should we move to the eclipse, because you know the things totally changed when it come to the eclipse, when nearby the eclipse, so many things happen. So let's look the eclipse charts then. Here we are. Oh, this is the eclipse chart, and we got sun and moon at last degree, 29 degree Aries, and I still try to pronounce that word right. Anarctic degree, Marcus, is that the one we say? Anarctic degree, and I even tried to check it. What does that mean? Because a lot of people talking about it for the last couple of months. There's a lot of planets in 29, 29, 29, 29. And that was pretty interesting. The first things I noticed, okay, well, this is the Aries eclipse, a solar eclipse. It's about the sun, and then again in the Aries, and we get a sun conjunction. Well, this is a interesting because it's all about self. I have to say, the first is conjunction with a new moon, and in the Aries, the last degree. I'd like to hear a little bit more about the analytic degree things, but I think a lot of people saying it's like because it's the last degree, so it's like the energy is super strong and very sensitive. People try to act everything at the same time because it's a last moment. It's like a supermarket before it closes. Everybody rush in trying to grab things, especially in Japan. They have the discount for last 10 minutes. Don't rush in to get everything you need. Could be that energy. I don't know. Could be because I'm not expert about that anorectic degree. But the things I noticed is there's a new moon, this eclipse exact square Pluto from different side. That's interesting. From different side, but exact square is just like a look, half minute, half degree. 30 minutes away, and this is very tight. So it bring the active. I think it active this Pluto in Aquarius, and then it bring the sense of urgency. It's still early, but we have to act quickly because the crisis is kind of it's right in front of you, but you couldn't see it. Why I say that? Because it's in different side, so we may not acknowledge it, or even we see it, we're just like, nah, it's not true. We don't understand that. That's just something strange. But people, there is a sense of urgency that we have to act quickly. That's how I feel. It is very interesting. I have something else to say, but I will just stop here. Marcus, how are you going to interpret this stuff?
Oh, I haven't looked at this chart yet, but it's an interesting one because it's, as you say, it's a solar eclipse and it's on the north node. So I'd look at those two factors to start with. So that's solar eclipse is often sowing a seed of something. It's like a new moon, and it's with the north node, so it's bringing something in. It's not removing something. And this is the first, I think, proper eclipse in Aries in the tropical zodiac. because the nodes are still in Taurus and Scorpio.
Yeah.
But this is the first of a series in Aries. So it's interesting what you say about it being in the last degree, having that feeling of just like trying to grab everything off the supermarket shelves before it shuts, sort of thing.
Yeah.
Which is very appropriate for the ruler being Mars in Cancer, because Mars in Cancer has that kind of vibe, you know, like just trying to grab all the food before the, you know, supermarket shuts is I could see that being a thing. In terms of, I don't think it's it's an interesting eclipse because the sun and moon are with Jupiter, so that's going to actually help the eclipse be less problematic. But again, that ruler of the eclipse is that fallen Mars in Cancer. So there are a few things I think that what does that mean? I think that this eclipse could bring in potential new like just in general, generically, new sort of emotional conflicts and amp up kind of issue, sort of domestic strife or issues of people getting angsty about things to do with Cancer. So that's like the food, because it's like Taurus, Cancer has a lot to do with food, but it's coming more from an emotional safety thing. It's coming also stuff to do like with patriotism and its unpleasant flip side of xenophobia. Do you know what I mean? Like, because Cancer can be kind of tribal, and Mars in Cancer can go one of two ways. You can either fight for, you could fight for your country or for your feelings in a way, and it's quite tribal, so that it can go there in a way that's fighting for not having borders, or fighting for like this narrow little tribe of people. So I think this could potentially amp up some stuff like border disputes and like racial disputes and stuff like that in a not very pleasant way. And but Jupiter is still in reception with that Mars, which will have a double-edged thing again. It'll exacerbate people's ideological zeal with defending the positions they believe in, but it will also, Jupiter's in a traditional astrology overcoming Mars. It's in the superior position of that square, which will tend to imply that it'll like sanity will hopefully win out in the end. So I think this is an interesting mixed sort of eclipse in all sorts of ways. It's not going to strongly affect the UK, I wouldn't have thought, just because the sun and moon are below the horizon in London. So yeah, that usually indicates but it's going to affect other parts of the world a bit more strongly, I think. So new beginning. And the other thing I'd say, final thing, and then I'll let someone else take the mic before my camera does another whoopsie, has Mercury conjunct the North Node. Actually, or with the North Node, I should say. It's not conjunct, it's with Uranus conjunct the North Node. So there could be some new announcements about food, or about provisions, or whatever, that or some new technology that could impact food or money or provisions or other Taurus related. So anyway, I'll leave it there.
Okay, thank you, Marcus. Mandi, do you have anything to add in?
Yeah, Marcus, that was really interesting, actually, fantastic.
Good.
And just listen to both of you speak about this, and what the sense that I got for this, talking about the anaretic degree and the urgency of the anaretic degree. It's like this eclipse is like the feeling of we've got to act before it's too late. But there's also a sense of it's not quite time yet as well. And the reason I say that is because obviously the sun and the moon will be moving into Taurus, and also Pluto is still at 0 degrees of Aquarius. It's really only giving us a little taste of what Pluto in Aquarius is about, because we are not finished. As we know, we are not finished really with Pluto in Capricorn until spring. I think it's spring 2024, or even late 2024. I can't remember, but you know, we've got another year. More than we've got another, nearly, and more than a year really of Pluto in Capricorn to sort of finish its dastardly work, if I may say so.
I like that dastardly word.
Dastardly work. And I thought what's also interesting, Marcus, is what you were saying about Mars in Cancer and sort of land borders and patriotism, especially for the UK, as the Mars falls in the 4th house, which is kind of about those things. And the other thing about Mars in Cancer is Mars in Cancer is quite a defensive energy. So, for example, in sport, it would be the team, the part of the team that's playing in defense, also in battle, but also kind of IRL in real life, that defensiveness, even at worst, probably passive aggressiveness. And I would say any sort of tip for Mars in Cancer, and it's great, Marcus, that you pointed out that Jupiter has it, that Jupiter is superior. So go to Jupiter. Your intuition is probably your protection with Mars in Cancer. So the more you follow your intuition, perhaps, the less defensive you might need to be, and then use that Jupiter to sort of, Jupiter gives you an opportunity. Jupiter's about, we think of Jupiter as the planet of good luck and opportunity and optimism, but it's also the planet of doing the right thing. It's also the planet of kind of morality. It's the planet of higher spirituality, of internationalism, and all those juicy things. So that's maybe something to think about as well, just to add to what Marcus and Rod have already said.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Yeah. Thank you, Mandy. And so, this is very interesting. The next thing that I noticed was the degree of the Mars on a 13th degree Cancer, where it's pretty close to the very famous fixed star series. At a 14 degree. At this moment, it's like a 1421. So still a little bit 1.5 degrees away ish, but it's still quite close. Well, I don't want to stress too much because it's not even. It's more than 1 degree, so it's not say a line or conjunct. But I just want to remind you, but it could happen.
But it's a very bright star, isn't it, Rod? Sirius. It's a very bright star. So
I think if we count in the night sky, not a daylight, because daylight with the sun, the most bright star. Yes, we all usually forget it is a star, the sun.
Yes. Yeah.
But in the night sky, if we only count the stars, that planet and the moon, and then Sirius will be the number one. Will be the most bright one.
So I think you could allow it a slightly larger orb than other stars.
We should be okay with that. So this and we will see. Interesting part is the Ptolemy give these fixed star series Mars, Jupiter, nature, and so when Mars come into here, that help Mars. That help Mars, and it's very interesting because Vivian Robertson talking about the guardianship of this series, and both you talking about the protection, defending, and then the guardianship is the one key word in the series. That's why when you talk about that, oh, interesting. We are talking about a little bit about series now. It's kind of unconsciously we gonna have an influence from these series things, but which means I think this Mars. I think God is not if any place have an impact of an influence by these Mars aligned with series, maybe it will cause some series moment that could be either one, the hot weather, or explosive, or well, I usually say they very literally dog by because it's kind of nature, it's dog by. But for more different meaning, for more, not literal meaning, that could be like a protection, and it is a great vision, a great wish we want to do, but we pay a huge price of it. So that means you're going to achieve something big. Doesn't matter, would be the worldwide, mundane, or personal. Like I think Benedict Bradley say one thing is like a Princess Diana, she want to become a princess, and she pay a huge price for it. That thing. So it's about you had a wish. You could be like, I want a world peace, or Donald Trump want to become a president, then he paid the price for it. He still paid the price for it. So this is the you want to do something big. Yes, the series will let you do that if you have that in your chart, but you have to pay huge price for that thing. It's not. There's a sense about that you use all your life to do it. That's meaning rather than pay price. Like you really give all your life in for achieve that goal. Yeah, that's a great thing. But it is very interesting when I see that. Well, but particularly protection. and their guardianship. Like, I mean, if people don't know about the series, then I even don't like mention her name, J.K. Rowling, at this moment. I just really see her true face, or not friendly to transgender thing. So I just doesn't enjoy that part. But apart from that, when I was when I was young adult, I really enjoy Harry Potter. then in the book, the series, the Harry Potter Godfather role, really, I think J.K. Rowling probably is a copy from Vivian Robson. So the character I really fit into the what we're talking about, the Fake Star series.
Which character, Rod? Sorry, which was that?
The Godfather of Harry Potter,
Sirius Black.
Yeah,
of
Sirius
course.
Black.
Yeah, Sirius Black. Yeah.
Sirius Black. So
yeah, because he dies, doesn't he? But when he was put in prison for ages, but he's sort of he's Harry's famous.
He died for protect Harry Potter, you know, and
yes.
he's a godfather. He tried to protect him. So yeah, that's the sense of
and he transforms into a giant dog, basically.
Yeah,
he's a wolf.
Giant dog. Yes.
Yeah.
So that was so interesting.
That's brilliant.
Wow.
Yeah, that's brilliant. There's more. The more that you look at the chart, as usual, the more you notice. So I noticed, like, obviously that Mars is also square Chiron. So that could be sort of conflicts over marginalized groups, and as if there hasn't been enough of that going on already.
Oh dear.
So yeah, I mean, it's funny you mentioned J.K. Rowling there, that there could be more of this sort of like gender wars stuff being really inflated around this time. You know, I can see that with Mars and Cancer, because it's like people will silo into their feelings with Mars and Cancer. It's like, I'm right because I feel I'm right, and on either side, I think that can go away. People get a lot more. I have natal Mars in Cancer. I know the worst side of this planet, and there's a good side of it too, which is to say you can defend the vulnerable, which is a useful thing to have sometimes. And the traditional texts say Mars in Cancer makes a good phlebotomist, which traditionally I think that would translate to a nurse or something, because it's somebody who can take blood or do surgery in a way that's kind. Do you know what I mean? So there's a useful side to it too, but it is a tricky energy to work with, in the sense that it does tend to amp up feelings. And around I think also another now cancelled person, the comedian Louis C.K., said in a routine years ago about having his believies, like things that he sort of believed in, but probably not enough to feel morally superior to other people, but not really to do anything about them. These are my believies. So people, under the worst side of this is people could start thinking that their believies, their moral positions, which they're probably not actually going to do anything about, are super important to them, and get really heated up about, oh, I feel so strongly about this. And actually it doesn't have that much direct impact on their life. They're just what's the word, vicariously taking out their emotional energy on other people, and that could happen a bit with this eclipse, I think. But I do think, as Mandi was pointing out, that sort of I think go to Jupiter, eventually this will get sorted out, and I think that the positives will win out, but eclipses always cause disruption. So there's going to be some disruption. Final point: Mercury and Venus are in a generosity there. They're in each other's signs. So whatever sort of announcements are made might be a bit shocking, but I think will be well expressed and somewhat positive. So if there are any new technologies popping up around this time, they should actually be quite good. So hopefully not more AI potential death robots, but more sort of useful stuff, you know? So
people mentioned about that, and I think we should keep an eye on it. Mandi, you want to add anything in about the solar eclipse chart?
Just one quick point. As I was looking at it and looking at some of the energies that are coming through with this eclipse, if I'm doing Jupiter and being over optimistic, but it could be the beginning of the end of growing inflation potentially. That could be something. There's two sides, remembering that there's two sides to every story, because Marcus has just mentioned about Mercury and Venus in generosity. With that Uranus in there, we could be shocked into reacting. Whereas there are sides to every story, Venus in Gemini there. So that's just another sort of that reactivity to think of the other side, to think about, try and balance things. I mean, balance isn't a great attribute of a solar eclipse, especially in this solar eclipse chart, because there's no options in this chart. If you look
Yeah.
for the UK, it's all on the left
on.
side, which makes it even more predominantly about me, for example. So just to remember that there are 2 or more sides to every story.
Yeah.
And especially as Saturn is in a separated square, but it's in a square with Venus there. So we've got Venus Saturn in square. So again, there's perhaps a price to pay for overreacting and for being too one-sided about things. So just take that consideration. And again, I love what Marcus said, and I keep going back to it about Jupiter. Yeah, think about that Jupiter and do that Jupiter. It's your friend, I think, in this chart.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Mandi and Marcus. I think, we spent quite a lot of time in the both chat, and it's still early morning for us, and I think we all deserve a good cup of coffee.
Another one.
And maybe croissant.
And for those of you who celebrate in Easter at this time and Passover and any other celebrations, please have a lovely holiday.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was just like when I flew back from Lisbon, I think they keep talking about Easter. I said, we're still away from that, isn't it? No, it's this weekend. What? And until someone tell me, do you know that Friday is a Good Friday? We don't work. I said, that's why. I'm still not aware about all of this.
No, I always forget. I always work through Easter, so it's just like, everyone else is on holiday. Okay, cool.
I think so. But I think when you become a freelance, Easter holiday is just like
that's why because we're mostly self-employed, aren't we? So it's kind of like holidays are a bit weird when you're self-employed because
exactly. But anyway, your long holiday, all our friends will be free, and we're going to enjoy drinking and food and partying, and it's nice weather. So, just enjoy your weekend, and our team will come back next month, and also next week will be our mundane astrology discussion group, and so astrology from all around the world, from Brazil, from Peru, from Portugal will all join us to have a very good discussion about the solar eclipse and what's happening now. Okay, thanks everyone. See you next week. Bye. Bye.